Okay. Hey, you guys. I'm super glad at least a few of you can hop on live. I know it's the middle of the day and lots of people still work, so I get it, but I'm recording so everyone can catch it later. I'm excited to have Jessica on with us today. She is a rock star and she's 30. Are you 30 weeks right now?
Yeah, 30 weeks today.
30 weeks. Oh my gosh. And she's still crushing it in her business. So I know we have lots of pregnant coaches within our downline. So I'm excited for them to hear from you and kind of your insight on that too. If you want to share a little bit, if you're doing anything differently or whatever while you're pregnant. But let me tell you girls a little bit about her first. She is a superstar diamond. She has only been coaching for 29 months, right?
Yep.
So just over 2 years. Let me mute. Okay, there we go. Just over 2 years she's been coaching. She's hit Success Club 10 at least 10 every single month she's been coaching. So she's a legend. Goes to show kind of like that is the foundation, consistency over time. So I'm pumped to hear from you. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn this over to you and let me mute everyone else. Hold on. Mute.
Oh my gosh, my dog. Can you
Still
hear
going. Why the heck can't I mute Amanda? Amanda, can you mute yourself? Do you know? Are you on your phone or your computer?
I bet it's because she's on a phone.
Maybe. Because I can't mute her. I don't know. She's not making noise though. Okay, so let's just turn it over to you and you can rock it out.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey guys, I'm excited to talk with you. I love Micah. I think she's awesome. I followed her for a long time, and you guys know you have an awesome coach. So, but yeah, so I'm Jess, and like Micah said, I started about 29 months ago. Just to give you a tiny bit of background on who I am, I was a worship director at a church and the director of connections at a church. It was a bigger church in the cities here in Minneapolis, and I absolutely loved my job. I actually didn't really fully have intentions on doing Beachbody full time, to be honest. I definitely wanted to be home with my son more. I remember working 50 hours a week outside the home when I started as a coach. So if a lot of you guys work, I get it. But I was working 50 hours a week outside the home, which in ministry is really like 65 hours, to be honest. And I remember picking up my 1-year-old from daycare and bringing him back to the church because I was never finished with my job. And I remember him in the car going, "No, mommy, no church, no church." And it like broke my heart because that was the last thing that I wanted. And I just really started to feel like God was putting it on my heart that I needed to make my family my number one ministry. And this was a really great avenue for me. I had gained 50 pounds with Isaiah, and the 21-day fix and Shakeology helped me lose 20 pounds. And I was up on a stage in front of 1,000 people or so weekly that were noticing. So I grew very fast. But I want to make sure that you also hear that I had a very large market. However, I have signed up a lot of people with large market too that don't do anything. So I think it's really what you make of it. But I just, to be honest with you guys, I had a lot of fear going into this business. I remember being afraid that people would just think I wanted something from them, and I was determined to make this business more about just literally a ministry and helping people, and again helping my family by being able to have that income. And I remember the first time I was on the phone with somebody, I remember shaking. I was talking to a customer and I was like shaking because I was so scared. And I was in front of people for a living. I was connecting with people and networking. One of my jobs at Horizons, the church I worked at, was to help people network and get to know other people in small groups and serving opportunities. So it was like out of the norm for me to be nervous. So if you guys, some of you coaches that watch this, if you're or are starting new, just know that it's okay to have some of those fears, but you can also be fearless in your actions. And even though I had some of those fears initially, I knew that I had prayed over this and that if I was called to this, that I was going to go and I wasn't going to leave anything up to chance. So I went all in, and in 24 days, I became a diamond coach. In like 5 months, I was a 2-star. And then in, I don't know what it was, 6 months, I was a 7-star diamond or something like that. In a year, I was 10-star. And then in 23 months, I was 15-star. And it just went boom, right? And it sounds like it was easy, and it wasn't at all. It was actually really freaking hard. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I learned a lot. But, you know, I think that through it all, I definitely have grown in my faith, and as I, you know, and as a person, and now I'm pregnant and learning how to do that. And Micah just mentioned, you know, to maybe talk about that for a second. So I will, so I don't forget. But, you know, with pregnancy, I just really decided to own this as like a fit pregnancy. But for the first 13 weeks, I was super sick. And with my first, I wasn't sick at all. So who knows, maybe I'm having a girl. I have no idea, because we didn't find out. But it was one of those things where I was determined that I was just still going to have a presence on social media, that I was still going to do the best that I could. And the best that I could did not look like it did before I was pregnant, right? But I found out the day I hit 15-star that I was 6 weeks pregnant. So that entire qualifying, I was pregnant, and it was almost like the day after that I started to like get super sick. And so I've had a lot of pregnant coaches message me now, and they're like, how are you doing this fit pregnancy? I'm so sick. And I'm like, girl, I did not start working out again until after 13 weeks, because I literally couldn't. I went to Summit, and I had to like sit in a tent most of the Summit sessions, because I was like trying not to vomit. It was horrible. So if you are sick, or if this is just new for you and you're pregnant, I get it. But what I did is I shared value. I shared recipes. I shared my heart. I shared about, you know, when I could, I shared about my pregnancy after, you know, about 11 weeks or so. And then as soon as I started to feel better, I, you know, took it easy as I was going into it, but I started to work out again. And I've actually had some really weird struggles. I have something called SPD, not to be confused with an STD. I do not have one of those. But SPD is like a pelvis issue. And so I've had to be really, really careful. Like I can do a lot of cardio still, but I can't do lunges or certain things because I could permanently damage my pelvis. And so it's something that some pregnant women get. And I got to be one of those fun people that got it. But I've still been able to like push through it and, you know, do certain things that I know is healthy and helpful. And again, just try to seek to inspire, but I have added a ton of, you know, pregnant women. I have really, to my social media list and all that kind of stuff. And I've done a lot of marketing to that on Instagram and different stuff. And because of that, I know when they're due. I know their names. I know when they're due. I know what gender of the kid they're having, all those kinds of things. So I can check in on them. And, you know, I already have a lot of them that are very interested in my coaching, either when they're done or even just me giving them tips now. And so there's a really great way for you to use wherever you're at in your life to be able to build those relationships. And that's really what I want to talk to you guys a lot about today is building relationships, you know, building trust, my inviting system, and that kind of thing, because I do think that investing and inviting are some key elements to this business. And it's really what I love about this business. I love connecting with people. I love meeting them where they're at. I have been through the ringer with myself where I have kind of gone to a dark place at times where I've, you know, put like Success Club in my head to a point or certain goals to a point where I started to lose that love for the connection versus genuinely meeting people where they're at. And what I'm realizing more and more as I continue to coach is that when I remember to put their needs before mine and to understand their goals, I build longevity with that relationship that stands the test of time. And as long as I'm doing my actions daily and consistently, you reap what you sow. So as long as I'm not procrastinating, you know, a lot of times I tell my coaches, you know, if you wait until the last week of the month to try to hit Success Club, you kind of become a salesperson. I never wanted to be a salesperson. And so if I'm really going to do this and I'm really going to build up those relationships and make this a ministry, it's going to take engaging in consistent action every single day in a powerful way that is genuine to really meet people where they're at. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share you guys. And if you have any questions about the pregnancy stuff afterwards, totally cool. I'm an open book. This is the first pregnancy I've been through as a coach. And so kind of learning as I go, but also learning from different examples too of other people that I've watched do a really great job with it. So investing, here's just a little graphic for you. But I basically every day, and this might be a little elementary, this part for some of you seasoned coaches, but you can just hear my take on it. But every day, to keep myself accountable from only posting about fitness or only posting about, you know, certain things with that, I always post at least once a day, or at least try to, about health, hope, and heart. And hope is my faith. There's a picture of me singing because that's what I did when I was leading worship. So there's hope. Health is obviously my health journey, and that's doing my best to add value to people. And then heart is my family. And so I really love being a mom, and I really talk a lot about having a 3 major and all like the just silly stuff that he says all the time. It's getting better and better, truthfully. And I know that that's going to be part of my journey as I have a newborn and all that kind of fun stuff. So I really like to connect with moms, and then I really like to share about my faith. And I try not to overdo it in any of these areas. And sometimes I look back on my page and I'm like, I haven't really been accountable to my system lately. So I have to get back into it. But the good news is that this keeps me accountable for the most part. And then the rest is just my reality TV show, right? So the rest is just me posting about my life and the fun things that are happening and all of that. But this makes up my number one passions. And so if I share that, I'm going to attract my tribe. I'm going to attract the people that are also passionate about faith, about, you know, health, and about their families. So here's my inviting system that I want to share with you guys. It's really, really helped me. And to be honest with you, I didn't create this. I don't know if it's from Matt Way, or honestly, I don't remember. I remember learning it very early on in my journey. I did not have a direct upline coach like Micah, who is amazing. I have an amazing upline, but I didn't have, I had more of a hobby coach upline at the time. And it wasn't until a little bit later I got to know my upline. And so eventually I got to get into some of Lindsay Stay's groups that I just adore her. She's amazing. And this is something that I learned probably in one of those groups, but it's 532. And this is what I teach for people that do work outside the home or are just full-time mamas, you know, going hard right now. And it's, you know, 5 new conversations a day. I'll explain the system with that in just a minute, but I really don't say anything about Beachbody. I just create relationships. And I add, or at least I used to, now I'm maxed out, so I have to be a little more creative, but I add 3 to 5 friends a day on social media. I do that, by the way, by going to on Facebook. If you go to like your homepage, it says friends, and then it will actually split up categories for you. So I went to a really large high school. So I would go to my high school friends, and then I would like keep track of who I'm working with. But I would go to somebody like Kelly, we'll just say Kelly. I'd go to her friends, and I would click on her high school friends because I know that we all went to high school together. And then I would look for profile pictures of like moms with their kids and their pictures or different stuff. And I know that we went to high school together, and I would friend them and I would reach out to them. And that was like a really good way for me to just start building relationships with people that I didn't feel like were completely random, but I didn't necessarily have a personal connection with. The 3 stands for 3 to 3 invites a day. This is going back to people that I've already 5'd previously. And the 2 stands for me, it's always inviting people that are already in my challenge groups to be a coach on my team. I look for people with the gift of encouragement. I look for people that I think would be an amazing coach, and I invite them. And guys, 12 out of my 16 diamonds in my first business center said no to me twice. 12 out of 16 said no twice. My top coach said no twice and told me I was part of a pyramid scheme before she committed. So I think 99% of everybody says no at least the first time. And I think I did too, to be honest with you. I remember like watching my coach online, and it took me like 3 months to reach out to her and say, hey, I think I want to try one of your challenge groups. So remember that it takes the average person 7 times to hear about something before they'll commit. And I think that number's even gone up now. I think it might be 14 times before they commit. So you might be the first time they hear about something, you might be the 7th. But thank goodness that we have infomercials by Beachbody and stuff for people to watch at night, for them to have seeds planted and all that kind of stuff too. But I just always remind myself that. So when people say no to me, it's never, you have an opportunity to look at it as a seed planted or as rejection. I've never looked at it as rejection. I just look at it as an opportunity for a seed that's been planted for the future. And I've had coaches tell me no 4 times before they've decided to actually be a coach on my team. And I don't hustle them. I don't push or anything like that. But I do have a responsibility to share what I believe in. And I take that approach with my faith and with this and anything that I believe in. And so I share it, because if you don't invite people, nobody's going to join you, right? And remember too that with your, the reason why I do Health, Hope, and Heart, and I have that on my page and stuff like that, making sure I'm well-rounded, is because you have 7 seconds to make a first impression. 7 seconds is, well, in church ministry, what I learned is that you have 7 seconds from the second somebody enters your parking lot to make a first impression. So on social media, let's be honest, we probably have like 2 to 5 seconds, to make a first impression. And so we just want to be true to who we are and that kind of thing. And so there's my little tidbit with that. So that's the system that I work with. Now, when I'm 5ing people, and like I said, I might be talking to somebody from high school that I had friended that I didn't really have a personal connection with, but I do a system, and I think it's from GoPro. It's called comment plus compliment plus question equals conversation. So I might say something like, hey, Linz, it's been a long time since high school. I see that you have, a toddler, and I have one too. Oh my gosh, I also see that you have multiples. I'm expecting in February. I'm so excited and I'm so scared. Eek, do you have any tips for me at all? Just something like that, where you're connecting, nothing about Beachbody, but you're just connecting. And it's not because Beachbody's bad or anything like that. It's just that you want to have some kind of connection, because I'm pretty sure that maybe all of us have gotten spammed by a different company in the past, where somebody's like, hey, want to buy a wrap? Or, hey, want to try this magic pill? And, like they don't say anything about your life. They didn't take the time to look at who you are as a person or any of that. And I think that's really important. So I also try, before I reach out to somebody, just a quick go to their page. I just quick like something, maybe comment, and the comment can literally be like fun, like they went out for lunch, fun, or something like that. But it shows them that I actually took time to look at their stuff. And I think that that's important. And it doesn't have to take forever. I've recently been inviting at least 30 to 40 people a day. And it will be, me connecting with them, but I can do those invites, the actual invite part, I can do like 1 per minute. And I do a lot of voice memos. And so I can get 40 invites done in 40 minutes. But I don't feel disgenuine at all, because I've already created a relationship there. And let me know if you guys have any questions, and if I miss them because I'm screen sharing, Micah, just feel free to stop me at any time if you want to. Okay, cool. So response formula for objections. I use age-old system, feel, felt, found. Guys, recently I've gotten a lot of people that are saying no, right? Like it's the holiday season. I mean, if I'm inviting 40 people a day, I know Micah probably does the same or more. Think about how many people tell us no, right? And the truth is that I love to answer objections with feel, felt, found. Girl, I know exactly how you feel. I felt like I had 0 time to, I was a mom of a 1-year-old, and I was working 50 hours a week outside the home, and it was crazy. But what I found is that Beachbody workouts can be like 22 to 30 minutes long. And I could still, even on the days when I was home with Isaiah, I could still, get a nap in, but right before nap, put him down, do my workout real quick, and then I could go lay down too, because that was important to me at the time, right? So just relating, but then always asking a question at the end is so important so that you're continuing to connect. But feel, felt, found, same thing with money. I talk a lot about how Shakeology is a meal replacement, and my husband and I were actually doing Financial Peace University. I used to teach that, and adding as a customer, because I was a customer at the time, my Shakeology was $145 a month. So adding that in was like terrifying to me as we were paying off debt and not making a lot of money, right? And I remember just going, if I'm going to do this, this is a meal replacement. I'm going to use it as a meal replacement. And I did. And because of that, I actually saved money using Shakeology. And so I share that testimony with people, and I let them know, not just, hey, like, you can do this. It's more like, I totally get it. Trust me, I get it. This is what I found, and I offer a solution. It's not being pushy by offering a solution, by the way. It's being helpful and showing them what could be. So this is a slide actually from leadership that I loved, because I think sometimes when we get into business mode, we can start to people can start to become transactional instead of transformational. And so for me, it came down to remembering that people are lives to serve. They're not just points. I look at my coaches and I think, yep, like, Allison is making 6 figures. She's doing incredible. She's providing for her family. And yeah, she was 2 Success Club points, right? But for me, it's so much deeper than that. It's transformational. So it's about them, not me, finding the quality, no matter the quantity. The bottom line is the mission of Beachbody: focus on serving, loving, and transforming lives instead of focusing on just producing, right? And so this kind of keeps me accountable. I'm a very goal-oriented person, and I love accomplishing goals. Words of affirmation is my love language, so recognition is a big deal to me. All of those things. This keeps me accountable on remembering that it's about the lives changing and not points or that kind of thing. Even though that's my heart, I think sometimes we can get caught up in that. So that has to do with building trust, because it's all in how we approach people. So as I tell my story, I talked about doing a lot of voice memos. I really try to get people on the phone and do discovery calls. They don't have to take up hours of your time. In fact, I really just try to let people know I've got a quick 5 minutes. If you want to get on the phone, we can talk about your goals, and then we can really see what program is best for you. And that way you're not like committing an hour to talking about all of their stuff maybe, because if we did that for every single person, that would get to be a lot, right? But while I'm telling my story to them, I really try to pause, try to allow them to ask questions. I insert questions. I talk about, the benefits of Shakeology, about the performance line. I talk about my favorite program, my weight loss. I've lost 56 pounds. I talk about that. I talk about the costs and how I saved money using it. I talk about that within my story, and just how incredibly it's changed my life, my family's life, all of that. So I share all of that within my story after I've really heard about their goals, because once I know more about their goals, I'm going to be able to share what I think is relevant. In fact, I had a lady who was much more interested in the health benefits versus, and I know they go hand in hand, but versus weight loss, right? And she was talking about how her cholesterol had increased. So I shared the part of my story about how my cholesterol went down when I started using Shakeology. That's actually not something I typically lead with, but in her case, I knew that that is something that would be important to her because I listened to her and then I shared. So also making sure that you ask the right questions, after you hear from them and everything, making sure okay, you mentioned you want to lose 20 pounds. Is there a certain reason for that if they didn't already say? Sometimes people want to be a bridesmaid. Sometimes people are doing a bridal boot camp and you didn't even know because they didn't say it. So just because then when you're in your challenge groups too, you can remind them girl, you were going to look good in that dress, just being able to meet them where they're at and then making sure you ask those right final questions within it. Okay, so this is an example of I do ongoing free groups, and this is just an example of, this is actually before I started to do a lot of calls more, but Dawn is a lady that is in my free group, and I change it up every quarter. I do a longer free group within the group. It sounds confusing. It's the same group, but I just switch it up every quarter, and I do like 14 to 21 days. It helps me build relationships with them more. And then my typical, what has happened after 21 days is I typically sign about 10 people up. So it's been really, really good for me from that standpoint. And I'll also explain how I form within my challenge groups. And I know Micah's really good at that. But what I do is I usually reach out to there's like 400 people in it, and I message each of them personally, and I let them know, like, I don't know if you saw my crock pot group in this situation, and then I remind them you're already in the group because that can be confusing. But I'd love for you to be a part of it. We just started preseason. Does that sound fun to you? And sometimes I just get people that go, yeah, cool, thanks. And then I kind of go into like, awesome. So do you have any specific goals for this season? So I'm like, I might ask them. In this case, she poured her heart out to me, right? She poured her heart out to me in a message. And so I think it's also about matching their energy when you're building trust with people. Like, you don't want to write them a novel if they're giving you a one-word sentence back, right? And so you want to meet them where they're at. And so she really poured into how she'd been in this thing, and she had lost weight and felt good, and then she had like been part of in a flood area and gained all the way back. And she was really struggling with it. And so again, I would do this, and you'll see I actually do add in a voice memo, but you'll see that I match that. Like, I really go into like, I'm so sorry, this last winter, I'm really honest with her and just let her know my family had multiple deaths. I had a binge eating disorder as a coach. It was really hard helping people lose weight while I was gaining weight. I have a heart for this and would love to coach you further. And even though we're talking about my free group, I offer this amazing opportunity for her to be part of one of my challenge groups that is more structured with more tools, because I know that works, right? And so we continue to go on and talk about it and all of that kind of stuff. I do end up leaving her a voice memo and everything, and then we kind of go more into the conversation, and she asks more questions. She actually ended up becoming a coach on our team after she went through my challenge group. So not only did she join the challenge group, but she actually ended up being a coach, and she's doing great. And it was just amazing to me that just reaching out, right, and then matching that energy, I got to learn so much about her. And I know we have about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to keep wrapping this up. But it was really positive. And so I think it's just about, again, meeting people where they're at. So I know Micah is like a guru with the vital process. I really, really believe in this process, so I won't go too far into it. But what I will tell you that I do is no matter how I sign up somebody, I always work with them as a challenger first. Always. It just has really worked well for me. And I really try to help form them, if I see the gift of encouragement, to be a coach within the group. So I do the invite process where I have started by building that trust initially. And then when I go to invite them to be a coach on my team when they're in my challenge group, it's not really that weird because we have a relationship already built up, right? And so I try not to overthink it, but like, here's an example for you real quick. This was in my free group. I just saw this girl post, and like, her energy was off the chart. She was like, how can I pray for you guys? I love being part of this group. And so I just go and I invite her basically to be a coach on my team, knowing that the first time I invite, she's probably going to say no, right? This is a little bit of a cookie cutter example, but she was very excited about it, but she just felt like she needed to like be in a group first. And so I invite her to actually help me coach the group. And I do this with my customers. I will invite them to actually be a coach in the group with me. And I'll give them the template for the group, and then I'll say, feel free to make it your own, and to, just add your own pictures and your own scripts and that kind of thing. But here's a template for you, so it's not hard. and then I can really coach you through it. And then I introduce them to the group as like a 21-day challenge coach. I let people know that if any of them want to help too. And one of my last groups this past year, I had about 12 people that offered to help me coach the group after I introduced Bethany as a 21-day challenge coach. And so I had them switching off, helping with the group, and I signed up 10 of them to be coaches on my team. So this has been a really positive way to be able to work with people and to be able to really meet them where they're at and not only encourage them, but show them while they're in my challenge group as a customer that I believe in them and I believe that they would make a good coach. And so this is a good way for me to get them involved. And they're literally doing everything a coach is doing within the challenge group before they're a coach. So when I present the opportunity again to them, I know that I can say, like, now that you've gotten a taste of coaching, you're doing everything a coach is doing, you're just not getting paid for it. I would love to have you be a part of this amazing fit family. Would you be interested in that? And it's a completely different response. So that's kind of how I work that angle. This is just another example of that I'm going to skip through of building trust with somebody. And, I think too, guys, sometimes when, I mentioned to Micah before we got started that, it's been a rough season. I have coaches going through a lot of personal stuff right now. I'm doing the absolute best that I can as a coach, but I know that my worth and my foundation is not found as much as I love words of affirmation. My hope and my foundation is not found in what Beachbody recognizes me to be, right? And the more that I enjoy this process, the more I enjoy what it produces. So the more I build these genuine relationships, the more I love what I get to do as a coach. And that may even sound a little cheesy, but it's true. It's so different than, yep, I think goals are very important and I think we should aim for them and I will always be aiming for them. But I think that it's also really important to dig deep into why you started this and why you're continuing to do it. Because my why is completely different now than when I started because I have accomplished goals and had to kind of create new vision in a sense. So I'll end with this, you guys. This is hard to see and I understand that. So I'm going to talk through it real quick. This was a slide at leadership that I loved. And I think that during different seasons, it can be really easy to get into a caution zone. I think that that's human. I think that that's normal. And so you see the growth zone here is, they're a new coach. They have the 4 vital behaviors down. They're positive and excited. They have their initial growth. They exceed the expectations. What does that say? Whatever. They celebrate success. So they're climbing the ladder. They celebrate success. And then there's a choice. You can either continue to be engaged and sustain growing, or you can start to go, I've arrived, and start getting more into management mode and lose focus, and then start seeing some dips in your business and it's kind of scary. And then you're starting to second guess everything. And then the vital behaviors lose their vitality and your attitude changes and there's a moment of truth. And you either need to start heading back up this ladder or you're going to walk out the door. And I think I've seen that. I've seen coaches have their moment of truth and walk away. And I've seen coaches start to go back up. And the truth is, as a leader, what I've learned is that that is not all on me, right? Then that's a good thing. But, as a leader, our job is to, help and encourage and mentor. We're not a boss. But at the same time, I think it's really important for myself and for us to remember that, to keep ourselves in check. And so I just want to really encourage you guys, especially through a season that can be rough, going into the new year, just to continue to have that fire and to remind yourself what ignited the fire in the first place. And then to work on that. And for me, the reason why I'm so passionate about investing and inviting is because of the trust factor. And because it ignites that fire in me and it helps me continue to celebrate every success, not just 15-star, not just elite, not just, every, those big ones, but really celebrate every life changed, which again, I know can sound cliche, but it's truthful. So I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing now. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'd love to answer them. And I have not been able to look at the chat. So
I'll ask you the questions that are in the chat. We have 3 minutes.
okay, here we go.
Guys, okay, so we'll hustle through these. I think there's only 2 that I saw. Going back to your 40 invites in 40 minutes, do you use Teamsy for a list, or do you keep a handwritten list of everyone you've been connecting with so you can just blast through the invites?
Okay, so this is like really simple. I use my phone, and I use the notes section of my phone, and I use my calendar. So I have like a list of people that I know every day before I start my invites, I make a list. These are the people that I'm going to invite. These are the people I'm going to go back to. And in my calendar, when I talk with somebody and I am going to follow up with them, I immediately go and put it in my calendar. I know there's better systems. This is just what works for me. I'm just being honest.
Perfect. Okay, and then the last one was, what difference in value, resources, and posts do you do with your challenge group versus your ongoing free group?
You know, I try not to make them too different, but as you guys know, with our challenge groups, we have the tools, to succeed in a different way. But I even try to do like mini challenges and prizes within my challenge groups just to like have fun with it. We'll do like, that's not super crazy new, but like plank challenges where you have to plank somewhere that's not on the floor and like take a picture and post it on your page and you get points and just different fun stuff like that. So I try to make my challenges like a little bit more lively in that way. And just more prizes and that kind of fun stuff, where my free group is really focused on like crock pot or coconut oil or eating clean. Like it's got a much different focus in that sense, but I still give 110% to that free group because it is their first impression in on my coaching.
Perfect. All right, you guys, this is seriously going to cut us off in like 0.2 seconds. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to be with us. It really is all about relationships, and I love that that is your main focus, because that is where everything starts and everything flourishes from there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If anyone has questions, post them in the team page, and then I can always shoot her a quick message or something if it's something that I feel like she needs to answer. Okay?
Awesome. Thank you, Micah, for having me, guys.
Thank you. See you guys.
Okay. Bye.